I stood at the podium in the Willowbrook Estates Community Center, voice raised, hands locked on the paper before me. Notice of violation. Case number 4729. Karen Mitchell. As president of the Willowbrook Estates HOA, you are officially fined $10,000 for numerous violations of municipal codes 12.3, 15.7, and 22.9. You could have heard a pin drop. Karen's smirk melted away. Her eyes went wide with shock. Her mouth opened and shut, desperately trying to find words that would not come. Only 7 days earlier, she stood in the same position, smiling happily to tell me I was being fined $2,000 for fishing. That was the start of everything. I'd just moved into Willowbrook Estates 3 months earlier. It looked like paradise. Winding trails, manicured lawns, and at the heart of it all, a tranquil pond, framed by old oaks and the rising morning mist. To someone like me, someone who finds peace in a cast and a reel, it was perfect. The next morning, after I got there, I stepped outside with my rod to the pond at sunrise. I caught and released 3 largemouth bass that had fought as if they were the last fish in the world. Neighbors walked by, waved, smiled. Some even lingered to chat and share fishing tips. It was home. That feeling did not last for a week or so. Then the letter arrived. Thick, cream-colored, typed on official HOA letterhead. Dear Mr. Thompson, you are in violation of Willowbrook Estates HOA Covenant, Section 47B, Subsection 3. Fishing in the community pond is prohibited under the Protected Waterway Act. You have been fined $2,000. Failure to comply may result in further penalties and legal action. Below was a bold signature. Karen Mitchell, President, Willowbrook Estates, HOA. I read the letter 3 times. I thought it was a joke. But the fine was real and ridiculous. I flipped through my closing documents, thumbing through each sentence of the HOA bylaws. Nowhere did it say fishing was prohibited. Indeed, the pond was described as a community recreational feature. Still confused, I decided it was time to meet the infamous Karen Mitchell. Her house was just what I had pictured it to be. From a magazine, immaculate hedges, a lawn that was perfectly manicured, not a blade of grass out of place. She opened the door right away, as if she had been waiting for this confrontation. Mr. Thompson, I suppose, she said coldly. Most perpetrators show up in 24 hours thinking that they can charm their way out of it. Spare yourself the trouble. The fine still applies. Fishing interferes with the ecosystem. She was getting ready to leave when I stepped forward, being polite. Miss Mitchell, I've read the HOA documents. There's no mention of fishing bans. And according to county records, that pond and a 15-foot perimeter around it are public access easement established when the development was built in 1997. Her face flushed. Easement for the public? I've been president here 8 years. I know all the rules and all the people who think there's something special. That pond's got HOA protection. You don't like it, move. I pulled out my phone. A screenshot from the county recorder's office. It says here that the HOA can maintain the area, but not restrict legal activity, including fishing. She picked up the phone, gazed at it, and thrust it back. Old records. The board decided to take over years ago. I have minutes, and even if that's true, I can still penalize you for nuisance, disturbance, or whatever else I see fit. That's the advantage of being president. And with that, she spun around on her heel and slammed the door. As I plodded home, heads turned. Neighbors looked away. Others scurried to water flower beds and leaf blowers. But one man approached. George, old, kind, and wise in the way that only time and kind watching can wise. You're the new guy got cited for fishing, huh? He leaned in and whispered. Karen's been pulling this bull's for years. The Johnsons, $500 because trash cans were visible for 10 minutes. The Patels, $1,000 because their kid doodled chalk on their driveway. Most of us just pay and keep quiet. It's less hassle. But it's not legal, I replied. George shook his head. Her brother-in-law's a lawyer. She handpicked the HOA board. Cross her once, and before you know it, you're getting fined for a mailbox that's the wrong shade of black. But I was not built to give in. That night, I sat down at my computer and got to work. I learned county municipal codes, public easement laws, HOA governing authority limitations, every inch of law that governed communities like ours. And the more I read, the more certain I was. Karen was way out of bounds. I prepared records, screenshots, county maps, municipal bylaws, and prepared for the next board meeting. And here we are tonight. At the podium, surrounded by residents, I read her the infractions she had made. The $10,000 fine wasn't arbitrarily given. It was the culmination of a string of code infractions, abuse of powers, and deliberate misinformation. Karen's complexion turned white. A week ago, she cackled when she tried to fine me with a forged one. Today, she sat silently, humiliated before the same neighbors to whom she had once held court with an iron hand. And the cherry on top? George and others came forward. They shared their stories, their photos, their emails. And within the course of the evening, the board, the very same board Karen once dominated, voted to remove her as HOA president unanimously. She tried to speak, tried to protest, but this time, no one was listening. It wasn't until I started digging in the online forums and archived local news that I struck pay dirt. Buried deep within a 3-year-old message chain on a message board was a surprise. Karen Mitchell, our current HOA president, had been investigated for improper use of HOA money at her previous community. The complaint was dropped, but the timing was just right for her sudden appearance and rise to power here at Willowbrook Estates. For the first 3 days, I handled the investigation as though it were a court trial. I made formal record requests to the county regarding the governance of our HOA and the pond easement. I reached out to prior board members via social media. A few would talk, off the record. Their stories painted a damning picture. Karen had bullied her way into power, ousted opposition members, and spent HOA money on everything from personal landscaping fees to vacation trips under the guise of HOA conferences. But the largest smoking gun? When I received actual HOA meeting minutes by public records request, Karen had claimed that the board had voted to take over the pond. That never happened. The official minutes during that period of time had mentioned nothing more than lawn maintenance and a few minor issues. She had outright lied. With all of it assembled, I took a calculated risk. I copied my findings, neatly piled them up, and mailed a copy of it to every home in the neighborhood. But that wasn't the last of it. I also filed formal complaints with the city's Code Enforcement Office, the County Commissioner, and the State Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division. My report wasn't limited to the fishing fine. It described a years-long pattern of abuse, illegal fines, fiscal misconduct, and blatant HOA overreach. I added screenshots, meeting minutes, bank records supplied by angry neighbors, and a timeline of HOA conduct that violated local and state law. The response was immediate. Within 48 hours, the director of the city's code phoned me. An official inquiry was being made. The county commission issued an emergency hearing of the easement status. But the actual pandemonium erupted when Karen found out. At 7 a.m., she appeared at my front door, pounding as if she was trying to break it in. When I opened it, she was seething with anger. "You think you're clever?" she sneered. "Complaints? Complaining to the neighborhood. You want war? You've got it. I'm calling an emergency board meeting this evening, and I'm imposing fines on you for everything. Grass too high, cars parked crookedly, crumbs on the mailbox. By the time I'm done, you'll be owing $20,000. I stayed calm and took it on video with my phone. "Miss Mitchell, are you trying to threaten retaliatory fines because I made proper complaints about your illegal activities?" Her eyes widened as she noticed I was taping. "That's not what I said. You're twisting my words. Turn that off, or I'll charge you with harassment as well as violations." She stormed out and kicked over my recycling bin in a final act of petty defiance. The board meeting that evening was standing room only. Word had spread fast, but it wasn't neighbors alone who came. 3 significant figures sat quietly in the back: a city code enforcement officer, a county representative, and an economic crimes detective. Karen's attitude changed the moment she saw them. However, she clung to her script. "We're here tonight to disprove the defamatory campaign that Mr. Thompson has been waging, disseminating falsehoods and unsubstantiated charges. I suggest we grant the maximum possible penalties." She didn't continue. The city administrator stood up. "Actually, Miss Mitchell, we're here to discuss the complaints filed against you and this board. Our preliminary investigation has uncovered grave abuses in your enforcement methods and financial management. What ensued was the most satisfying hour of my life. They laid it all out. The pond? Still public easement, never to be under HOA management. The fishing fine? Utterly invalid. All fines issued by Karen over the last 3 years? Illegal, because she never had full board approval. And most shocking, over $50,000 in HOA money had been spent for unauthorized purposes, directly benefiting Karen herself. The county commissioner assured that homeowners were now entitled to interest along with refunds. Karen tried to spin it. These were all misunderstandings. The Hawaii conference was necessary HOA business. All I did was for the betterment of this community. But her voice grew strident. The detective posed pointed, unyielding questions. Her answers unraveled. When she turned to her hand-picked board for support, they all sat in cold, guilty silence, calculating their own legal risks. Then it was my turn. I walked to the front of the room, folder in hand. "I have here documentation of every illegal fine, misused fund, and falsified meeting minute. But instead of walking through them all, I'll let the city finish." The city rep took a firm step forward once more and pulled out an official notice. "Karen Mitchell, based on our investigation and evidence you've brought, you are formally fined $10,000 for municipal HOA governance infractions, illegal enforcement actions, and authority abuse." The room erupted. People cheered. Some even leaped up and cheered. Karen's face changed from red to white. She grasped the podium as if it was the only thing holding her upright. "You can't do that," she panted. "I'm the president. I'm immune. The charter protects me." The detective marched on ahead with a smooth stride. "Immunity does not cover criminal activities. Full audit of HOA books starts forthwith. You might want to get yourself a lawyer." And in that moment, Karen Mitchell, the tyrant of Willowbrook Estates, broke. Her shoulders fell forward. Her power ebbed away. The board called for her resignation. When she would not speak, they voted to remove her in the most dramatic fashion, unanimously. The $10,000 fine was just the beginning. The audit would likely uncover additional funds stolen. Suits from neighbors were already in progress. Her tiny empire, built on intimidation and fines, was crumbling around her own eyes. When security escorted her out, she looked back and caught my eye. The indignation she fixed on her should have been blistering, but wasn't, was overcome. Karen Mitchell's tyranny was over. And what did it cost? An exact $10,000, and all she had built on the backs of the people around her.